You want the leader to be drawing, inspiring, magnetism forward.
I've heard it expressed as, do you want to be a lighthouse or a tugboat? Are you shining the light? Are you attracting not just success, but the right people to the right mission?
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the Business of Homes podcast, and I'm your host, Michael Conrad. I'm back here offering you an opportunity to sort of get inside people's heads, hear great stories about those that are currently making their way in the world of real estate here in Tennessee. I think that just simply the top layer of the story isn't enough. That's why this isn't just the Homes podcast. This is the Business of Homes podcast, where we really want to get into the grit and anchor ourselves to what are you really doing to make yourself better. And so for all you listeners here, I hope that you're coming to the table with your questions in your mind and your ideas, and maybe you'll be a guest one day. But today we are fortunate enough to hear from Aaron Joyce, a guy that I've known off and on over the years as someone who is going to go out and he's going to make the world around him what he wants. He's a successful real estate agent. He's built himself a team here and there. He's done different things. And I feel like he's coming to the table today with a lot of perspective to share. Thank you, Aaron, for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, bud. I can't help but just kick us off with this idea of our beginnings, where we start, how we get to the table. We're here today, but you've been in business, 11 or so years, me about the same, and kind of what gets us to where we are today, or even what got us to the beginning of real estate, is always interesting. It's just it's a common thread we're constantly tugging on here, because where we came from, what our professional experience is, and how we're breathing that into our practice daily ultimately is going to be our version of a special sauce. I'm not sure it's totally 100% replicatable, but I'm hoping to dig out of you some of those real world stories and experiences that led you here to a place where you have been satisfied with this career and continued forward and had ups and downs and even a little failure along the way.
Yeah, I guess I started with failure. So from the beginning, I was ready, willing, and able to fall on my face and get back up and keep going.
That's so good. Love that. We're not good at showcasing failure in real estate. Heck, we're not good at showcasing that in our personal lives. So you started with that, and that pushed you into real estate?
Well, I just got married at 39 years old, and on my 40th birthday, oddly enough, I got laid off from the job, sales job. I had been interviewing just before because I had told myself, this is the year I move up or move on from this company. And so when I got laid off, I had turned down a position the week before. So I called them back immediately and was like, hey, my position's changed. I can start Monday. So I took that severance, which was about a 60-day severance, and went and started that other job. But from that day forward, I was focused on getting my real estate license, which was something I'd thought about for a while up until that point. So,
but wait, why were you getting a job and then wanting to pursue a license, and how does that connect to that terrible feeling of getting laid off?
The getting laid off, I was totally out of control, right? I was the top sales guy on the low-level team, community bank team for a marketing company. We had financial products for banks. And so it was up or out with them, and then they forced the out. So I was already thinking that. And you go through the 12 stages of grief. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? Screw them, But in that, I told myself nobody would ever walk in and tell me my job was gone. So I had been in mortgages in 07, 08.
Great time for mortgages.
Right. Yeah.
Great time.
So, had that fall apart when I was a little bit younger, and realized that wasn't the side of the business I wanted to be in. I was always one of the top salespeople everywhere I went, because I look at sales as more of a connection than a trick. And was like, let's go. It's time to take control of my destiny. And I thought, I kind of knew that this might be the right path for me. So I got my license. The layoff would have been February of 13, was licensed by October. And that job I took the following week. set a goal to quit by June of 14, and June 1st, I was out the door and never looked back. So
nice.
Yeah.
Did you use that other job as a bit of like financial buffer or leverage? Was that kind of the game?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I think most people think is you're going to get into real estate and start making money initially right away. I got my first lead, and then I got more leads, and slowly but surely built up that momentum. So,
well, they think that now, but were they thinking that in 13? I mean, it was a little hairy back then.
I just knew if I had an opportunity to connect with somebody, I could sell myself, right? And I think leads is what I needed, so I joined a team. I honestly had no idea what I was doing or I remember I was so nervous. And just wanted phone numbers or connections or a way to find somebody that needed my service. And so, like I said, I started with one lead, and it took me, I think, 6 months to close my first transaction. So February of 14, I was off and running with the closings.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You bring up a side comment there, and if you don't mind going down a rabbit trail with me here. Sometimes I think real estate agents get defined as sort of the conveyor of houses. You are a participant in selling houses. So are you a salesperson of this product, the house? And then the way you described it just then, someone looking for my service. This constant reminder that, you're in a service business, actually. You're providing a technical and sort of varying level, expert level knowledge or experience about this. And it is a service onto others that could not or cannot or will not do it for themselves. And so, which is it? Are we selling products, particularly when we're listing agents, or are we providing services? Like, how do you think about it?
I mean, there's a couple different ways to think about it, but the first is our value, which is I'm not here to sell you a house. I'm here to guide you through the process. In that process, there will be several people I'll need to introduce you to. And because I've been doing this long enough to have great relationships, I'm going to take the stress out of the home buying for you. I always tell people, you're going to choose the house you love, and you're going to lean on me to make sure we get to the finish line. So
that is so true, but also so tricky in reality, because sometimes people don't know what the house is that they love, maybe until they've seen it, lost it, and then seen the next one. Oh, that one's it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the, that hot market. But I would say if you haven't asked enough questions, right, you can kind of get an understanding, and then you show a few and you're like, okay, I get what they're feeling for. I don't think any house is perfect. You're going to outgrow it or maybe overspend or whatever it is that they choose to do. But I think at the end of the day, it's a feeling. And with the right person by their side, they can feel pretty confident about that feeling and going for it.
Yeah. I've heard people talk about that before, this idea of the more that you question in an educational way with your buyer or seller to seek what they need or want, the better the relationship will stand, and the better you'll be able to serve, and the more successful you'll be able to be. And so then immediately my mind goes to, well, what are those questions? Can we write them down in a book? Is it so custom, person to person, practitioner to practitioner, or is it, no, there's a codified general list of questions that if you ask these, your chance for success is just like massive?
No, I think it's more about, let's just talk about buyers, the buyer consult, right? The first 35, 45 minutes is about them. Who are you, right? I mean, you've got the LP Mama, location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, all of that. But that's to get the appointment. Then you really want to dig in. Well, why is that important to you, right? I think that's a great question. You should ask at every turn. Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to spend that much money? Is it about the monthly payment, the down payment? Is it about, the school district, yards? I mean, there's just so much to ask, and everybody's different. So I think the connection, if you care, they're going to see that you care. If you spend enough time to ask enough questions and find out just a little bit about them, they're going to be comfortable opening up. And then once again, my job is not to sell them anything at all. It's myself. I always tell my team, look, we don't sell houses, we set appointments. And in those appointments, we're going to convey our ability to care enough, provide enough value that they trust us, and we're going to show them that we're going to be experts to get them to the finish line. Other than that, there's not much more you can do. So once again, it's about personal connection, and those questions aren't, in stone, perfect kind of scenario. Say this and you win.
Questions.
It's more like, who am I sitting with? And I really I care enough right now to spend 45 minutes getting to know you.
Love this idea that the agent becomes a successful framework that's around the buyer or the seller. Or maybe you might even say that they are like a strong and stable boat for the buyer or seller in which to both inhabit and power forward. And that your chances for success come from not you powering the thing forward, but from you giving them the chance to self-educate, self-know, self-direct, self-choose. I mean, that's maybe the greatest moment is when the client's like, yes, this is what I want. We've uncovered it together. And so I like that idea. And there's a larger conversation going on about agent value and agent service and agent, pay. And when you talk about it in these terms, I feel like it clarifies the conversation for me.
Well, I mean, everything that's going on in the market has not scared us one bit because we've always talked about value, right? We've always known what we bring to the table. Use the buyer rep agreement. Mary, my wife, who's on the team, she will not show houses without a buyer rep. The 3% fee has always been written in there. So now it's more about, do you know your value? Can you explain it? Can you convey that value is worth what may be an extra 3% if they need to pay you now out of their own pocket? I think we can. I think we always have, and I don't think we're really scared of that. So as far as creating this new market or this new ability to have to sell 3%, no, it's about value. And if you see that I care enough and that I'm there for you, hopefully they don't have to pay it. But at the same time, I don't think most people balk from that document when we put it on there. So
yeah, the buyer's rep agreement isn't nothing new in Tennessee. We're one of the states that's better at it than most. But I have heard plenty of relatively new agents over the years talk about that fear of that awkward conversation starting out with that, putting that paper in front of them and be like, we got to be steady. We got to go exclusive. I got to wear your pin, and so, but if it's about relationship and the relationship is the key to the success and the depth of understanding what they want, how best to serve them, that the relationship agreement, the buyer's agreement, is setting the expectations early on, and in fairness, I'm not going to say that the buyer is stupid or the seller is stupid, but they just don't know what they don't know. And if they don't know how to self-structure the relationship, which is likely, then it's upon us as practitioners to help structure the relationship for maximized success.
That's right. And, we're going to do a lot of work, put a lot of time in without any guarantee of pay.
Right. Which I don't love and could sway me easily into a conversation away from commissions and into fixed rate services, because I don't love the roll of the dice that is very much present in real estate. I don't love it.
Yeah. That roll of the dice, though, starts to disappear. I mean, when you're ready for opportunity and you've practiced your ability to, your 30-second elevator pitch or your value proposition, you're going to lose a lot less. At the end of the day, I think it's like 74% of people will hire the first agent they meet. So you just have to be prepared to be the first to meet with them. So always set the appointment. And two, with your value proposition in a confident way that conveys care and professionalism. And more than likely, it's less of a roll of a dice and more of a, I would say it's more than 50-50 that we win. I know if I meet with somebody and I go through my buyer's consultation, or if I happen to catch them at an open house, that I can, feel confident that if they don't choose me, then it wasn't something I said. It was either they were already locked in a relationship, or, just for whatever reason, we didn't have a connection. So,
that 74% statistic is a funny one because there's another terrible statistic about repeat usage.
Yeah.
And so to make a full joke out of it, we would need to say, well, then the tiny portion of a buyer or seller's brain that's dedicated to like longevity of relationship of agent is not working correctly in some way because they keep thinking that every agent they now meet is the first agent they've met.
I would say, I would say that's
they keep meeting the first agents and they keep adopting the next one they meet.
Well, that's the tricky part about building a long-term business. That's what, because all of a sudden you go from, hey, I'm an agent and I did X, I made a living, right? I doubled my business and I added somebody to staff. Now I've got more agents, which I have to support, right? This would be building a team over time. Connectivity with your past clients. gets like, oh my gosh, hard, right? I think
Wide.
in 11 years, we're somewhere 600-700 past clients, and haven't always been great at keeping up with them. But at the same time, it's always a focus. Shoot, it's been 6 months now. I gotta reintroduce myself. You
want to be the new second introduction.
Of
I
course,
like that.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good twist of it.
And we're lucky that we get a lot of repeat and referral business. But now I focus on listings. I'm like, wait a minute. When these listings sell, if they're not buying, they're not going to repeat, right? So there's just always another layer of connection that you have to think about adding.
I think the roll of the dice that I was sort of commenting on earlier has more to do with things that are outside of our control. I think you rightly say that if you put the work in the relationship building and you know what you're talking about and you've got the depth of experience and knowledge, then no, that piece, your piece, isn't a roll of the dice. That you have controlled it to a certain extent. But there's a lot of market condition. There's a lot of personal matters that go on in people's lives that prevent us from always having linear success with the efforts we put out there. People, to your point, are making choices that have nothing to do with me, have nothing to do with my success, the quality of product or service, or my acumen. It has everything to do with bad timing or unfortunate circumstance, for them. Yeah. And so that roll of the dice, again, tying back to earlier, this idea of I always want great practitioners who provide great product and great service to be well compensated. Yeah. That's sort of just like a basic understanding of the world that I like.
I think, though, you're not wrong about the roll of the dice. I guess what I was saying more is if somebody who's maybe newer or hasn't found success yet or is wondering what the trick to the business is listening to this, I would say consistently focus on your value proposition, that ability to sit across from somebody and gain trust and explain why they need to work with you, and then hustle to be the first person to meet with them when they're in the market or a few months before. I always say to people, look, would it make sense for us to sit down, even though you're not quite ready, put a plan together so that when the time is right, I can be the agent you choose? And that's just a question they won't say no to. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and if you do that early and often, you build a pipeline. And if you build a pipeline, you can build longevity.
This early adoption of relationship allows for an element of forecasting and sort of a spreading out of your work, which then creates long-term success so that you can pour back into the first thing that got you where you are.
That's
good.
Right.
That's good stuff. I want to dig in a little deeper to where you started us off today, and this idea that we fail forward sometimes if we're lucky, and that failure is a piece of it. I heard recently that baseball is a game of mistakes and failures. It was described to me this way. And I love it. And I loved being able to teach that to my 10-year-old son who was struggling with his own grappling of mistakes and failures in the game. And I said, every person on the field or at bat is going to either make a success or a failure. And one person's going to get a success and one person's going to get a failure. And so if you're the guy who's making a success, somebody else is getting a failure. And sometimes you're the guy getting a failure. And so this adoption and acceptance of like failure as normal or a learning opportunity is no surprise to us. I mean, we've heard this part of the conversation. So I want to know where you took this experience of like, no, that's not going to happen to me again. Or no, even the first things I did in my business didn't work and I got to start over again. Give me some concrete examples from your early career where you were leveraging that, because honestly, the more we normalize this part of the conversation, the better.
In real estate or?
In real estate, yeah.
I mean, something that just popped into my head was I sold Yellow Book, Yellow Pages, like right at, I moved here as a musician years ago.
Y'all know what that is, a Yellow Pages?
Yeah, no, most people probably don't. But that was the first experience I had in the professional world, I guess. And I really learned there that you don't take objections personally, right?
Beautiful.
It was always about more information. Now, believe me, I didn't believe in that product one bit. So it was really tricky to be super excited about going back in and repitching them. But, it's a request for information. When a client sits with you, and especially if it's or I guess they're not a client yet, but a prospect that you've just met, they're wanting to know, what is it about this person that's going to make me walk out of here feeling good? And once again, the objections are always going to be the same, right? It's either time or money, right? And at the same time, trying to get to the bottom of that, to uncover their needs and motivations, and then turn that from maybe doubt to a win. It's just always been fun for me, like a game, treat it like a game. But failure, I mean, from investing into Zillow and Realtor.com leads, where you get on this wheel, this hamster wheel of, it'll pay. Yeah, I just need one. It pays for everything. And then all of a sudden you have a team or taxes, and all of a sudden one deal turns into you got to have 4 or 5. So now you're answering the phone, and your life has just taken a massive turn for chasing the phone call, the prospect, or just showing up to open the door.
Yeah.
But learning real quick, whoa, this is not the life I want. I've failed. I'm getting deals, but this is not working. And then turning that off, and then turning the ship around to being more about relationships. I think that was one that I learned early on. It's like I've made some of the best friends I've ever had through real estate transactions. I started out as prospect, and next thing you know, we're having dinner with these folks, and several of them. So I think, the failure is always, what did I learn from this opportunity, win, lose, or draw? And when you lose, you can either let it beat you up, right? Or you can turn around and say, okay, that didn't work, and I need to learn quickly not to do that again.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Jake, director for the Business of Homes podcast. I hope you have been enjoying today's episode, starting with showcasing failure in real estate, agents being a successful framework around a buyer or seller, and the difference between closings and relationships. When we return, Micheal and Aaron dive into real estate being a team sport, questions to ask when joining or creating a team, and top-down team culture. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Business of Homes Pod, where you can interact with us and see some great bite-sized pieces from all of our episodes. For you listeners out there, did you know our entire podcast are filmed and are on our YouTube channel? Check it out next time you want to see our amazing guests tell their stories. And are you currently watching this episode in video format? Don't forget to follow us on your preferred audio streaming service to take us with you on the go. Lastly, do you have any feedback or want to suggest someone for the show? Email us at thebusinessofhomespodcast@gmail.com. Please enjoy the rest of today's episode with Aaron Joyce. Let's get back to it.
I'm aware that one of the failures that is common in real estate is that we're failing to convert the people that we know into true believers and users of our services. And I'll go back to what you just said, this idea that we got to know what it is that we're talking about, be passionate and confident in it, and give people a reason to believe in us. I think that we've found ourselves in a place a little bit where we're obsessed with the idea that we're indispensable, and that if we're just present in the sphere, that it will be a natural fit for someone who likes us enough. You get so many friendship points that they'll say, well, you are this person that I need, and you are my friend, and I think that we need to give people a little tiny smile in the corner of their mouth when they think about us and say, oh man, they really know what they're talking about, and they're passionate about it, and they're dedicated, and they're kind-hearted, and they're knowledgeable, and they have a deep bench of resources and a great Rolodex. Like, they need to be aware of all that can be offered by someone with all these services, instead of just being aware that you are this profession of some sort. And that's, I think, a big difference, is that we're not doing enough to go beyond just touching the sphere, but into educating. And I love that idea of, going to them before they're ever in need and just being like, let's just preload the gun here, or preload the machine, or whatever the analogy is.
Yeah.
And Do you find that is being trained at the brokerage level? Do you find that's in the conversation? I mean, that's a relatively new idea to me.
We're pretty busy nowadays, so I don't have as much time as I used to connect with people the way I want to, because that's like my thing. I just loved it, right? Like most people don't like calling leads. I loved it. To me, it was like I knew I could nail that.
Potential new friend.
Right, and make a friend, see what happens. And at the end of the day, I think we're studying leads. They say when somebody pushes that button and says call agent, they're 12 to 18 months away from buying. Even if they're, hey, meet me at the house, I want to buy now, you still have to be able to maintain that relationship through let's call it a 90-day process potentially. If they don't buy that house, or if they do, maybe it's quick and easy, but that doesn't happen a lot these days. So I was always prepared to say, look, let's put a face with the name here. Let's sit down and walk through, you create a problem and solve for X, walk through some of the process so that you know exactly what you need to do and exactly how we can get you ready. Put a strategy together for the next 6, 12, 18 months so that you're confident not only in my ability, but who I am to put me on your team. So
I think you're on their team.
Well, our motto, and this is trademark, by the way, is real estate is a team sport. So you're Nashville agent, real estate is a team sport. So part of, the conversation is, look, when we put you on our team, we mean it. We're going to do everything we can to go to bat for you as a fiduciary, as a friend, to get you in the best possible position based on your needs.
Man, I'm going to be worried about royalties here. I think I've been saying real estate is a team sport for a lot of years. Holy cow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And it's a team sport in more perspectives than one.
Yeah.
You're kind of relating the idea to the client of, I'm on your team and we all have to work together to get to the goal. And sometimes I've spoken about it is that no one gets to the goal if we're not all on the same team, more kind of universal.
And the team too is like, I'm going to maybe start the conversation, but somebody else might show the house, or the listing coordinator might schedule and be at the photos. And then, you've got our transaction manager who's going to run the process. And then, you've got your vendors that might be on the team. So we're on the team together, you and me, buyer and seller. But there's a team behind us that's going to support this. I mean, there's just so much and so much depth. But the conversation starts with the lead, right?
Team within the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so 100% yes. And this idea of team isn't exactly universal in real estate. Tip of the spear real estate agent from afar appears to be an individual. There's a lot of representation, both the fake representation on Instagram and the real representation out there that is a solo operator. And that cloudiness of what's behind that solo operator, hasn't always been clear. And so when you talk about this, I love it, because now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of business, is that you don't really have a business if you don't have a team. You don't really have a business if you don't have a process. You don't have a team. You don't have a business if you don't have repeatable product quality, right? And so as you start to say, oh, well, there's all these people that are on my team and they're helping us achieve this success. I love this. And so how did you get there? Because you didn't just start Just Add Water team in the beginning. You said, oh, I saw these uncles, or I saw these people who were real estate agents and I wanted what they had. What were you seeing that was face value versus what was real? Did they have teams?
Well, I think, as far as what their businesses were, I never really dug in. I just saw their lifestyle. Yeah. And that was real estate. So it was like, okay, that's interesting. As far as the team model, 10 years at Keller Williams, the ins and outs of how to build a team if that's what you want. I mean, you don't have to, but there's definitely a way to put that together.
Great training.
But I believe, and did from the very get-go, I had your Nashville agent and all of that set up before I had actually left the team I was on, because to me it was an assumed sale. Hey, this is Aaron. I'm your Nashville agent, right? So anybody that joined our team could be your Nashville agent. My Nashville agent's kind of the initial reaction before they realize, oh, wait, that's a brand. And so it's not about me. It's about me caring enough about the people we bring on the team to try to get them to where they want to be. And that doesn't always work. We don't always align in value. But at the same time, I removed myself from it immediately, as far as Aaron Joyce Realty or,
right. Smart.
whatever it was. So I always kind of thought bigger from the get-go. Like, I want to create a business. I don't want to necessarily be hustling till I'm 70. And so that's what we're working hard to do, is really build a platform for people to come in, teach and train them a value system and an ability to connect with people so that they can grow their business. Now, the thing with agents is most of them want to go grow their own business. So you have to constantly be ready to kind of add to your bench and add more people. But once again, it's really not about me. It never has been.
Okay. So case in point, people want to start their own businesses. You were on a team.
Yep.
And you were already thinking, I want to start a team?
I kind of outgrew the team pretty quick. Year one, I was the number one sales guy. Year two, I was helping to manage that team and the number one sales guy. And I don't really feel like the value or the vision was there to make us kind of partners while I helped that team grow. So pretty quickly, it was like, man, I need to probably go somewhere in order to really accomplish what I'm looking to do. But I did go to this person and say, hey, you know what? It's going pretty well. We should partner up. And I've got some great ideas. And
So you did do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they didn't really want to.
Less interested.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah.
And believe me, I was nervous when I left, when we, kicked it off. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Same with getting laid off. I would have never done any of this if I hadn't actually been fired.
Nice. Love that. Okay. So for our listeners here who are themselves looking at, should I join a team? How? What questions do I ask? Who? Or maybe start a team? What were some of the questions you were asking at the beginning when you were joining a team? What is it that you were looking for that was going to give you place, tribe, security, knowledge, resource? What are the questions you were asking to join a team?
Honestly, I just wanted leads.
Give me the leads.
Right. No, well, and I think other people or, people may look at that differently. For me, I understood what a lead was because I'd been a salesperson so an opportunity to connect with somebody and kind of learn the process. I really was ignorant of, I just didn't have a general understanding of what it was I was getting into. I just knew that I could connect with people really well on the phone and in person. So I have to admit, I really didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing it. I just was like, real estate sounds good. Do you offer leads? Cool, I'm in. But I would say now that I'm a little bit older and wiser and smarter, I would say, culture is important. Who am I working with and how do their values align with mine? I think, network's important. Does this person have the ability to walk in with or without leads to connect with their own people and create kind of their own business outside of what we're going to do to help them support themselves? And then I would say just, you got to be willing to do the work. I mean, you got to have so much opportunity to really make a living in this business. 10 to get 5, we would always say, like, if you want 5 deals, you got to have 10 because they're going to fall out. I think just a general knowledge of what do I really want, start with why. Why do I want this? Is it really, really, really what I want? Because, you're going to be you got to want it. You're going to be doing open houses on Sundays when everybody's hanging out. You got to be hitting the phones. If you don't like cold calling, that's going to be tricky. You got to go above and beyond and just decide that whatever it takes, real estate is going to be what I devote at least the next 18, 24 months to just to get out of the water.
And I'm hearing, to distill it down, I'm hearing that one of the base level questions you got to ask if you want to join a team is, does the team genetic makeup look like what I want or need? And I'm not even going to put any judgments on it. If you're a more relaxed person and you want a relaxed real estate life, then you probably need to be on a relaxed team that's not going to hound you and for, this or that, the other thing. And so if by contrast, if you want to really pole vault yourself forward and use a big leveraging tool, then you're going to need to be on a team that's bringing you high structure, high challenge, high requirement for success. Yep. So that's kind of a layer one I'm hearing you draw out. And then also two, culture. But I want to dig in a little deeper to that because, oh gosh, the number of podcasts and books out there on culture, God knows even what that is. And so give me a sense of give me a couple touchstones here of what you think bad culture looks like, or by contrast, give me a couple touchdowns of what good culture looks like, because it's hard to recognize culture until you're like in it. And then you're like, wait, this is the culture and I know what it is, and it is good, bad, otherwise, whatever. And so seeing it from afar, how do we recognize it?
I mean, I guess I could talk about my own personal experience building a team and doing it wrong the first time. Where the culture was, I can't imagine what some of the people on my team thought when they looked at me, because I was just grinding, right? Like, I'm sure it was, that looks like the absolute worst time ever. He might be making money but he does not look happy, right? And so I would say it starts with the leader. Is the leader, fulfilling a life that they want, right? Or do they appear to be happy? So it's always going to be top down, but at the same time, it's a vision. Is everybody on the same page to accomplish things together and individually? I know for us, once again, because of what, we don't have to go into it in depth, but the covenant thing with my family, I had a complete realigning of my values pretty quickly. Although I was on a search for it, what comes first? Just with Keller, it was God, family, business is the way they aligned it. Well, I was business, family, not much God in there, because I just thought, if I just work my ass off and I make plenty of money, my family's gonna be fine. And, really quickly that day figured out that was backwards. And so a realignment of my personal values, which is, my spirituality, my connection with gratitude, and, kind of not trying to control everything, letting it go because it's all going to be all right. You show up, you do the work, the results will come, has actually made my family situation better, which has eased up my ability to show up at work more present and more friendly and less like drive. And now it's about them. When somebody joins my team, what is it you want? Because I know how I can put a plan to get you there, but it's up to you to do the work. And when I check in with you, did you do the work? Because you said this is what you wanted and here's the plan we put together. So it's really not about me now on another level, right? Because I know what I did to get what I wanted and get to a place that I thought I wanted. And then I got there and realized I'd done it all backwards. And so now I really do just want to pour into the right people who culturally can help me help them get where we all want to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I love that. I'm so aware and resonating with what you're saying. This idea that the leader is not going to drag you anywhere.
That's right. I was dragging everybody everywhere the first 6 or 8 years of this.
Or maybe if that's happening, that's bad. We should not see that. Yeah. You want the leader to be drawing, inspiring, magnetism forward to the place wherever it is you're going. And so maybe one of the first markers of good culture is that there is a cohesive identity in a team rather than a loose affiliation of individuals. That bad culture is lack thereof.
Well, I've heard it expressed as, do you want to be a lighthouse or a tugboat? Right? So are you shining the light? Are you attracting not just success, but the right people to the right mission?
Right. Not cajoling and pushing and,
Yeah. And once again, I did that
shoving.
for years, just thinking, man, these people just don't know what they want. We'll get there. Just come on, keep going, pick up, it doesn't work.
Also, this idea of, and I think that each successive generation, maybe not each, the younger generations in the grand scheme of thing are more aware of the mixture of life being not just work, but also family and community and spirituality and meaning and fulfillment and gratitude, all these sorts of things. We're better at that conversation than we've ever been previously in humanity. And so I think maybe looking for a culture or a team that is even open to that conversation, is even talking about those words. So they even have the language for that. Because that's something that I've been trying to build in my companies, is that, again, like you said, where are you going? How can I help you get there? Because the more that I can create a success environment for you to reach your own goals, the better that you will be able to serve within this environment, which will give great product quality to our clients, but also great satisfaction to all of us. And then maybe, just maybe, if I'm a participant in helping you achieve your goals, like we'll get a chance to work together for a lengthy period of time, which is sustainable and good, as an employer long-term. So that's new. And I'm somehow still shocked that every once in a while at a coffee shop or something, I'll hear someone talk about the terrible bosses or terrible culture that they have. And I'm thinking to myself, does that still exist? But no, it does. It very much does. People are still shackled to these bad work environments out of fear and anxiety. And they're populated with managers and owners that aren't having these conversations, which is a shame. And so maybe one of the things to look for, if you listener here are looking for a team, it's saying speed of the leader, speed of the pack, direction of the leader, direction of the pack. Is this person going the direction I want to be going? Are they going to be able to lead, parentheses, inspire, not drag me to that end?
Yeah, I think once again, there's enough business out there, and one person can't get it all. Even a team won't get it all. But if you can help each other get somewhere higher than you are today, through a joint conversation about achieving together, then you're on the right path. Zig Ziglar said it best. Help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And so I think if you apply that to team ownership or team management or building a business, you should be bringing people in that want to buy into and help you build culture, values, and hit a goal. I mean, you got to have a goal, right? So
as we sort of come to a close here, the world around us is introducing an element of the unknown. And while you say that you are unafraid of the future, and I love that confidence, there is in all of us an attempt to forecast through the fog. And so you're building this team, you're looking ahead at where we've been in real estate, where we're going. What do you think real estate's going to start to look like in the course of the next 5 years? And that may or may not affect you, but it's going to affect somebody.
That's a great question. I think once again, I haven't even stopped to consider it, because if it ended for everyone tomorrow, well, that's tomorrow, right? And I'll be affected by that then. I really have stayed focused on, and with our team, we know our value. We are not scared to present and ask for the 3%. We've been doing it since the beginning. So if the industry changes that much, and you're starting to see some reduced cost commissions already on listings, then we've either got to do a better job giving more value, stating that we do give more value than the average agent, or negotiating that in, because at the end of the day, we've earned it. And 3% is just a standard that we live by. So, I really don't know. It doesn't seem that iBuyers really work. That kind of faded. I know that was a big industry scare tactic here a few years ago. At the end of the day, robots aren't showing houses like we thought that was going to happen. I really think it's about a personal connection. And do I trust this person to start this conversation with me, guide me through the process in a way that looks out for my best interest, get me to the closing table? And you know what? That was a great experience. I'm going to refer you people. And of course, you've earned 3%.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really love your perspective, and I think that you laid down a lot of good stuff for folks who are listening here to take into their own business right now. If you guys want to get a hold of Aaron, ask him questions about his team and his experiences, check the show notes for all the contact information, and of course, check him out on all the socials to keep up with what he's doing. Thank you so much for being here. We love hanging out with you guys and hope that this continues to be just a better and bigger part of your business as we're fueling the questions and providing little nuggets along the way. And I hope you'll stick with us. Hit subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, Jake again, Director for the Business of Homes podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. A huge thank you to Aaron Joyce for being a part of the podcast. Go follow him on Instagram at ajoyce24 and let him know how much you enjoyed their story. Don't forget to subscribe on your preferred listening platform, and make sure to follow us on Instagram as well at The Business of Homes Pod. Do you have any feedback or want to suggest someone for the show? Email us at thebusinessofhomespodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you soon.